Facebook.
All right, Black Box Radio. We are not in the box. We are in South Carolina. We're in the Chuck. And I was supposed to be back, guys, but listen, they had a tornado system down here. They had some things going down. So I had to stay put. So I'm in South Carolina. I'm in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, at my mother's house. You see her plant behind me. I'm in the forest. I'm chilling. So I got the light down. It's a little intimate here. So I am so happy to be able to, with technology, to check in with my black boxes. And you know, tonight is hot. This is our Creating a Vibe series. This is a series where we create space for creatives. And that is so important, is that black people, I will fetch to say, are the most creative people in the world. We've created everything and we continue to create. It's inherent with us. And so the Creating a Vibe series is a series where we actually put that creativity and platform it and talk to people who are creating amazing things in the community, whether it be a monologue, whether it be a stage play, maybe they're authors, maybe they're singers, they're dancers, whatever's created and you making a space for yourself, we got a space to talk to you. So I'm Queen. I am a host at Black Box Radio. We are a media platform for Black excellence. We platform Black people, we expose Black genius, and we disseminate information to the Black community. But bigger than that is we humanize the Black experience to other communities who have no clue what being Black is. So they need to see it from us, by us. So tonight, I want to tell you guys, I can't even put in words how excited. When I tell you I'm excited to have this guy is walking art. He's been throwing art in Baltimore like it's like it's pills, just throwing it out in the street for 30 years, y'all. 30 plus years. He's been throwing out and being in art spaces and curating and giving other artists spaces. That's what we should do. So we are so blessed tonight in our Creating a Vibe series to have Brother Troy Burton. Welcome to the box.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. So happy to be here.
We are so happy to have you. And more than anything, we're going to talk about you first, but you got something coming out.
Hmm.
That's what's up. You are creating a amazing stage play, and we're going to get to that. But we
Okay.
want to hear a little about you first. Like, who's Troy? Where did Troy grow up? What has Troy done in Baltimore? So people can know, the giant I got on my show tonight. Talk to us,
Wow.
giant.
Wow. Well, thank you, giant. Giant in size, yeah. But
Stop
but
it.
now I'm Troy Burton. I'm a true Baltimore. I was born and raised right here in Baltimore. Received all my educational training right here in Baltimore. Um, Frederick Douglass Senior High School,
Wow.
Morgan State University. I attended the Peabody Prep. But most important, when it comes to my training, I had a lot of on the gig training. As they say in the jazz world, I cut my teeth on just my experiences of being
Mm,
out there, working with people, having elders mentor me, and just getting in there and getting my hands dirty. So that's
mm.
basically, I've lived all through Baltimore, West Side, East Side, you know how that is. So
Yeah, we move
um,
around. Where'd you grow up? What part did you grow up in? West Side,
of
Jugglers.
no, no, no. Actually, well, I was born in West Baltimore,
Hmm.
um, right off of what is it, Hilton Avenue, over there
Okay.
by Hilton. Um, and then the family we moved over east off of Bel Air Road, where they
Mm.
call it the 4x4. So I grew up there,
Okay.
and so, but I went to Douglas High School because I wanted to go. I wanted to study music, and
Mm.
that's the early days of the Baltimore School for the Arts. I auditioned for them, got in, but I made a decision to go to a high school that had a little more color to it because I was interested in going to the prom and homecoming and things like that. And Douglas had a wonderful music careers program, so.
Mm.
I made the decision to say no school for the arts for me. I can get that in an African American environment, and I did. I mean, the program was wonderful.
Really? And that you said
So
it's a music career program at Douglas? Wow.
music careers program at
I
Douglas.
wonder if they still have that.
It has evolved because
Mm.
actually I taught at Douglas too. So
Okay.
it was one of those experiences. going to school there and then going back to teach there. And I taught in the same program, the music careers
Wow.
program that I was actually in, but a little extra because I was also the drama teacher and responsible for help developing a drama program and several other programs and expanding that music careers program. So
Amazing.
that was, I
Amazing.
mean, that was a great experience. And then on to Morgan, I went to Morgan State University. Dr. Nathan Carter,
Yes,
uh,
sir.
that guy taught me so much
Oh my
about
goodness.
who I am and where I am right now in terms
Wow.
of being an arts administrator. And he was the one that told me, he said, this music thing could work for you, but you're a different type of leader and you may want to follow your heart and do more in arts administration and musical theater because he saw that yeah, I was never going to be a classical singer. That wasn't my thing. I don't
Mm-hmm.
even think I had the chops for it. But the thing about it, but put me on a stage and I can light up a stage. So that's the having the right type of mentors that can lead you in the right direction. So from there, and then from Morgan teaching, and then one day I walked in Arena Players and the world opened up.
Oh my goodness.
you know
My
the
goodness.
world the world opened up because I walked into a space where I said, okay, now I know what was missing in life. So I didn't grow up in Arena Players, but
Mm.
but I came there originally. I came there to be like a teacher's assistant. I was supposed to be a vocal coach
Mm.
for the youth theater there. And Mrs. Orange, who is the director there, she kept saying there's something different about this guy, something special about him. So my first day of work, I walked in and she was there, and the great Sam Wilson, who was the founder of Arena Players and professor at Coppin,
Mm-hmm.
and Sam said, "Here's the script." Miss Orange said, "Go in there. This is your script. That's your group in there. You're going to direct the show and have a good time." And I'm thinking, I've never directed a show ever in my life. And Sam said, "Well, I'm going home because naturally you got it. We've been watching you. We know you can do it." So I was actually placed in a situation where I had to develop. And that was the first level of being people pouring into me and saying, "Troy, we see your talent. Now we're going to move you in it." You know,
Mm.
so so I mean that was wonderful, and I have to tell you, the years that I spent with Arena Players Youth Theater, that was some of the greatest things that I've ever done creatively. The things that we were able to do with those young people, it was just amazing. The levels of shows and that was during a time when there wasn't a lot of social media and none any of that. So
Exactly. Yep.
and I mean, even to the point where the group we were selected to go and represent Baltimore to Rotterdam, an international festival, and represent Baltimore in the Sister City program in the area of theater. Little old Arena Players Youth Theater representing Baltimore in an international festival, saying we're here. We went with Sankofa
That's
with
amazing.
and I mean it was amazing because
Mm-hmm.
when we got there, we didn't know that the kids didn't speak English, and
Mm.
we prepared a show in
Rotterdam.
English.
Tell us where that is. Where is that? Is that Amsterdam? Where's
That
Rotterdam?
Holland,
That's Holland. That's right.
Holland,
Okay.
yep. And so,
Oh, they
and we
speak
were,
Dutch.
yeah, Dutch. And I was
Yeah.
told to prepare three productions: a children's show, a workshop to teach, and a main stage show.
Hmm.
And And so the children's show, when it was a wonderful show, but it involved some audience participation. But the kids didn't speak English, so I just looked at the actors. I said, "Look, y'all gonna have to use everything I taught you all in terms of, you know, projecting not just your voice, but projecting emotion and a lot of other things."
Mm-hmm.
And we did our show in English, and those little Dutch kids, they understood every little thing, and they were involved, and it was fabulous. And then we went on and
They
we
tell you
did
about art. It can break down any barrier.
that's the key.
People don't get it. Yeah.
They understood every inflection,
And
so they
that's
were
something.
involved. And then we did a main stage show, and I decided to do something different because at that time I was listening to a lot of Lauryn Hill. So we
Mm.
did a show called The Face of Reality. and that was based on that MTV. What is that unplugged that she did?
Unplug, yeah, yeah, yeah. With
But yet,
Zion and that
hmm
thing. Okay.
but we put a spin on it. We put our Baltimore stories, and and we made it a choreo poem. And
Mm.
so, I mean, so I'm not going to go on and on about it,
But I
but
like your
that,
experiences. It sees the texture of what you've done. That's amazing.
yeah. And I was honored because that was the first time the arena players had been presented internationally. Actually,
Mm.
it's the only time arena players has been presented internationally where performers went outside of the country. So it was an honor, to for them to choose me to say, hey, we want you to be that director. So that's why that place is so special to me, because that place has poured so much into my life and helping me develop and pushing me.
Yeah, that's
So
amazing. I want the black boxers to know. You mentioned some amazing giants, Sam Wilson,
hmm
Nathan Carter. I went to
yep.
Morgan. Nathan
Okay.
Carter was the visionary of all visionaries.
Yes.
At the point when Nathan Carter was at Morgan, the choir made more money than any entity at Morgan.
Oh yeah.
It was the money maker for Morgan because Nathan Carter was amazing.
We
Let's not get it. I've never been in his department, but if you went to a show, if you saw
hmm
him on campus, he was
oh yeah.
regal, he was
Yes.
classy,
Yes.
and he was the man. And
I
he
was
was not an artist. I'm sorry.
I was Dr. Carter's work study student, so I got a chance to see a lot
Wow.
of things behind the scenes with him planning the tours and things like. Even down there were times when I had to iron his shirt for a concert. So it was one of those things where you really learned behind the scenes
Hmm.
and and learning about being a taskmaster. Sometimes things would fly in the room and things were said, but at the same time, it was you understood that you had to be the best. You
Hmm.
really had to had to work at your chops and really make it work well.
He demanded the best.
Oh yeah.
He even demanded Morgan to give him space that was the best space.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was just that, and they had to because he was bringing international acclaim because
hmm
Morgan Choir was going everywhere. So
Yeah.
I want folks to understand the names that you just mentioned, to have those people around you. That's why it's so important to, if you can't be it, you need to be around what's it, so it can pour into you and you can learn so much from these giants that are in your path.
Now,
And
while we have this conversation, I'm going to mention a few names.
okay.
They're the first two mentors that really poured into me, and I mean, really poured into my life and my career. Where they took the time to really say, okay, they told me the truth. They told me when I was wrong, and it was it, so. Our mentors are important to me.
Very
So
important.
they're very important. And I had some of the best in Baltimore. And that's something that I'm finding right now that um, there are a lot of people who, the generation behind me, they have not had great mentors. They've
Mm,
had people who have taken advantage of them to further their own agenda in terms
mm,
of their own careers. And, you have these, I'm not going to call names, but uh, people who use their mentees to just say, okay, now I'm building my resume. And
mm.
and now I'm seeing some mentees who really weren't mentored well, and they're out here still trying to, at a certain age, still trying to build and learn. And I'm like, what's going on? People don't want to be mentors anymore. What the hell is going on? So
Mentors are important.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're absolutely important. And just think, and where you were, like going into arena players and Douglas, if they didn't give you the space to grow also,
hmm
and give you the space to do who they saw, what they saw, the vision they saw in you, or what they, the
hmm
genius they saw in you,
Now
then
I'm gonna mention one more mentor.
go ahead.
Uh,
Go ahead.
Jill Chern was the department head at Douglas High School for many years. A great person in Baltimore City, and she was the reason why I ended at the UB Blake Center.
Ah,
So that was my third mentor. I have at least five mentors, and I'll mention all of them while we're
okay.
talking.
So
But
UB Blake, you got to mention UB Blake. You spent some time there.
oh yeah, well UB Blake was a big part of my career, and I'm just going to go from the beginning. When I was a student at Morgan, I did an internship for the UB Blake Center summer program.
Okay.
because I wanted to learn more about musical theater and arts administration. So I did that, and then maybe like 4 years, three, no, not 4 years, but maybe like 3 years later, the same program hired me to teach drama.
Mm,
So so I went back and I taught drama in that program, and that was it the summer of '92, and then while I was teaching at Douglas, now I'm gonna make all this connect. Jewel Churn was working with the UB Blake Center to do some in-school programs. And
okay.
since I was already teaching at Douglas, they needed a person at the school site to be the administrator of the program.
Okay.
So Miss Churn, another one of my mentors, said Troy can do it. And so I became the site coordinator for a program that UB Blake Center was doing with schools. And that's how my first connection with UB Blake. And that's how UB Blake Center stole me from the Baltimore City public school system. Because
Oh,
from
wow.
teaching, because I was the site coordinator for, I think, like from 94 to 2000. And then the year 2000, when they opened the building at 847 North Howard Street,
Mm-hmm.
um, they said, Troy, we would like for you to come down and be our program director. And then that's how I got to the UB Blake Center. Now, keep this in mind. I
That's what I
started out
mentioned. I mentioned it.
right.
You.
I
Mm-hmm.
started as an intern, and then
Mm-hmm.
I came back as a drama teacher, and then
Okay.
I moved to the coordinator's position, and then I moved into the program director's position. And
Wow.
then when I moved into the programs director's position, that's where I met my next mentor, Miss Kamay Calloway Murphy.
Oh,
So
the lady of all ladies.
the lady,
That's
yes,
a shaker right there.
yeah, yeah, she taught me a lot of things. So to have her as a mentor was really, I mean, when I really think about this now, just putting a timeline together, I've had an
Hmm.
amazing life of wonderful people pouring into me.
Yes.
And she taught me so much. She taught me about how to go find the money to make programming happen. She taught me to go find the money for performers and make sure you hire people and you pay them right. She taught me, and you always got to have a little walk around money for yourself. So she taught me.
She taught you everything. I love it.
Hey, I mean, and it was a wonderful experience working with her. And so, until she retired, what, in 2005,
Hmm.
the board of directors approached me about being the interim executive director because I didn't want it. They came to me and they were like, "Well, we're going to do a search." And they came to me and they asked me 3 times, and I said, "Hell no, 3 times. I don't want it," because I know what it means to just watching others do it.
Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility.
And then so I said, finally, they kept pushing, and I said yes. And that was something that lasted for 50, I would think I was 15 years. I was the executive director,
Yeah. I've come
and
to
I
a
ran
lot of
that
your
place.
programming at UB Blake. So I got
Yeah,
real familiar with you at UB.
yeah, that was a big part of my life. I mean, because it was now, after all of these great mentors, go back. We talk about Sam Wilson, we
Hmm.
talk about Jewel Churn, we talk about Nathan Carter, and then we talk about
Yes.
Kamay Calloway Murphy. It was a chance for me to finally stand and say, "Okay, you all have poured into me. Okay, let me do my thing."
I
And
love it.
but they always stood behind me. I always called them up and say, "Hey, this is going on. What do I do?" And they always gave me the best of advice. So, they were just happy to see me now in a leadership position. And my
Hmm.
thing was that watching Baltimore, I wanted to create a space. I always used to use the phrase UB Blake Center is an artist space where the community performs.
Wow, I like that.
And that was something. I don't know what they're saying now because I don't know what the hell's going on there now. I'm just be straight
Ooh,
up about that.
we going to talk about that? No, we're not going to talk about that.
We may talk about it a little
We
bit,
may
but I
talk,
mean,
but I want to give
you
a shout out to the people. Shango Lewis said good evening, and Dennis said greetings, and Don Murray said to you, "You're a very special, be more talent, love and respect, Troy Burton."
hey Don, hey Shango. Now, Shango Lewis was one of my great friends from Morgan. He can tell a lot
Really?
of stories about us in Morgan Choir, but I love that guy. But he was also in Pearlie. We both stepped out of the choir to find our way into musical theater, and we used to do a lot of dinner theater shows together. And Shango was Pearlie, a hell of a singer.
Really? Okay,
Yep.
Shonda. We got to have you in creating a vibe. Listen, I'm farming people up in here. But
Okay.
the blessings more than anything is that you're still creating in Baltimore. You know,
Yeah.
I've met you at the UB and I've seen you over the years, and I told you I admire your work, I admire you and the things you've done, and I know the people that you've given space to, especially in the UV Blade, and some of them are
Hmm.
still there.
Not
And
many.
not many, but I'm gonna say some. We ain't throwing no shade tonight on the UV.
No,
So
no shade. Just truth.
it's true. You're right about that. So I just wanted to, I am so happy that you're still creating. You're out here doing different things, and you are creating a stage play. That is why I'm here tonight. What is
Okay.
the name and what is it?
Wow. There's a story for everything.
Let's do it.
Um, this new piece that I'm doing, working on right now, is more of it's as real as you can get with community theater. And I'll explain that. But it's called You Thought I Was Him. And the style of it, it's something that I'm trying a little different. I've heard a couple of groups have tried it, but I'm trying to put together a new form of theater that's called a theatrical mixtape.
Mm, y'all ain't never heard that.
Yeah, because I'm gonna say this: um,
DJ Troy.
uh, we people of color, we sometimes we tend to follow the European way of presenting theater,
Absolutely.
and uh, and that's how things are defined. And a lot of times it's like, okay, but I have these ideas of doing something else, and I can't find it in a book, or I can't find it defined a certain way. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna create my own. And
Huh.
that's why um it's called the theatrical mixtape, because I wanted to take what a mixtape. I'm that first born generation of hip hop. So, if we were the ones holding up, the tape deck to the radio, taping those
Yes.
songs and pausing and waiting for the other song, and then we would
Exactly.
that, and so we're
Yeah.
the originators of the mixtape.
Yep.
So I wanted to take that style, and I mean, the mixtape style has grown to a point where it's a whole business
It's an
entity of
industry.
itself.
Yes.
Yeah, but I want to take it back to the roots and say, okay, what are the elements of a mixtape? And
Mm.
I'm taking that and the elements of a mixtape, putting it on the stage, because that's another thing. We have to be conscious of the audiences that we bring in. And I'm just going to say this because we're being open. Arena Players is the oldest continuous African American theater in the country.
Yes, it is.
And because of that, a lot of their audiences are growing, I mean, diminishing, because
Mm.
as time goes on, a lot of people don't come out like they used to. A lot of them have gone on. A lot of
Yes.
great ones that I've worked with at the Arena Players are no longer there because they moved on to another space and time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to come up with innovative ideas to attract, you know, younger generations to come into the theater. And
Yeah,
that's
and you have
something
a
that,
lot of more competition with technology and
yeah,
people being
yeah.
able to be home and access things virtually, you know?
I mean, everybody's on TikTok, creating their own plays,
You better
you
know
know,
it.
but they short plays. But but those of us that love theater,
Mm-hmm.
full theater, that's
Yes.
something that we have to find ways of pulling people into the theater.
Yep.
Because when people come look at a play and they don't see anything that relate to them, or anything that's not of value in their life, they're not going to want to stick around.
That's true.
So that's another reason why I'm doing this piece, because it's necessary. And I'm gonna
Mm.
tie all this together. It's also about mentoring,
Mm.
because this piece, I mean, I've explained I had great mentors in my life, and this piece started. And I'm gonna give you the history so
Give me
we
the
can
history.
everything is right on the record.
Yep.
In 2003, I was still teaching at Arena Players Youth Theater,
Mm.
and and two young guys approached me. They weren't in the youth theater. One was a graduate of the youth theater, the great Robert Lee Hardy,
Robert
and
Lee.
Easy Jackson. They approached me after watching one of the youth theater shows,
Easy.
and they said, "We want to do something similar to what you just did," because I always did bold stuff, with the young people,
Mm-hmm.
giving them voice. And right now, a lot of those kids, who are in their 30s and some in their 40s, they're thankful that they were exposed that way to
True.
art. But Easy Jackson and Robert Lee Hardy approached me and said we want to do something, and I said okay, well, what y'all want to do? And they weren't sure. They said that's why we coming to you. So I sat them down. We started talking about writing and what kind of piece you want to write, and Easy shared some of his poetry. Robert had some ideas for some monologues. They put them down on paper, and I said, wow, these guys can write,
Mm-hmm.
and they needed an outlet.
And
And
Robert can
so,
act. He
oh,
acts.
Robert,
He
he can
has
play
amazing acting.
any character that Robert. I've seen him, you
Yep.
know, go from Shakespeare and the classics right down to where he do a character stand the man out there in the streets.
Yep.
But the guys they wanted to do something, so I said, okay, I guess I'm the mentor now, and we started to build. But I noticed a common theme. It was about black men and almost black men being endangered. And so we
Mm.
decided to call the piece Endangered Species. And then, so I kind of thinking about it, I said, okay, now it needs something. And this is the arts administrative thinking.
Mm-hmm.
We need something we can sell it. It's just something, and I remember someone saying, yeah, we need to get some niggas up in the theater. And then
For
that's
sure.
where and it hit me like a light bulb. I have these light bulb moments, or as Oprah say, aha moments.
Uh-huh.
And it hit me, and then I said, a real nigga show.
All day.
That's it. That's the topic. That's the whole play. That's the word. We're going to show it as a term of endearment, as a negative, the negative effect that it's had on African Americans. We're going to explore the word nigga. So
Mm.
we were all set, ready to start to write. We invited some other people to come in and workshop with us to write with this piece. And then when I got ready to present it to arena players, they looked at me and said, mm-mm,
No nigga.
you can't do that here. You
I knew.
change the title and come back another day.
Oh.
And so, and I thought about it, and I was very passionate about it because I said, wow, they haven't even read the script. And they told me based on the title, no. And I
No.
said, I said, am I that forward thinking?
I mean, you got something.
And so, but I decided to just jump in myself. And so, my bold spirit, I went to the theater project, went in there, said, I want to rent your theater. I have a show that I would like to do. I
Oh.
pulled out my little credit card. I said, here you go. Um,
Oh, you paid
I'm
for it yourself. My
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
goodness.
yeah. That was the birth of Troy Burton become the independent producer in terms of, well, no, let me stop for a minute. That wasn't the first time I produced a show. I'll go talk about that later.
Okay.
But that was the first time during this period producing a show. Um, and that's how a real nigga show came to life.
Mhm.
And the guys, Melvin T. Russell, Joshua Dixon, Malik Maloney was a part of the original cast. I mean, we and the great Robert Chew, the great
Mm.
late Robert Chew, Prop Joe. He came more in as another mentor because I told him, I said, Chew, I'm mentoring these guys, and I need you to come in and kind of make sure this writing and this acting can work. And he bought into it, and we rented the theater. And then my best friend Mesa Leak said, "Hey, I'm gonna put up some money to help y'all make this happen." So it was like the people in the community were coming to me saying, "Hey, we're gonna work together," and we made that show. We sold that theater project out with our real nigga show, and then the theater invited us back to do it again as a part of their season.
Mm.
And I was a little like, whoa, because you know our own theater, I can understand, was uncomfortable with the title,
Yeah, you know, and
but
they lived through in a time where that was not, you don't mess with that word.
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
I understand it because a lot of times I had my own personal fight with using the word within the show and things like that, and I would have to
Mhm.
say, okay, I know I'm working with a different generation here, and I have to think about it in the manner of the title is simply there to provoke thought.
That's it.
And so I mean, the Real Nigga Show went on to be very successful locally.
Mm.
We played like every 2 3 years. I mean, people were bringing it back, and then one day we got a call. Wonderful sister from Baltimore, Sherry Neal, who was at Wilberforce University, and she said, Troy, we would like to bring a real nigga show to Columbus for our homecoming.
Oh, wow.
So I said, okay, So once again, we packed up in the car and we took the show on the road. That's what we do. Grassroots artists. And I remember going to Wilberforce and walking in the theater space and saying, wow, how many seats does this place hold? And they said 1,000. I said, oh
Mm.
God. And then I was like, well, we'll do our show anyway. And then how many seats did you all sell? They said 1,000 with a waiting
What?
list.
That's what I'm
And
talking about.
that blew my mind. And that's when I really knew. I said, we got something here.
Hmm.
The message, the chemistry of the guys, the message, all of that. So we did it at Wilberforce University. They were talking about it all through the campus and the professors in their classes. And, it was a wonderful experience.
That
And then,
name definitely draws you. You're like, what does that mean? What is that? A real nigga
yeah.
show. Yeah.
And even Johns Hopkins University invited me to do a lecture on the show. It was
Mm.
so this was becoming something interesting, and this was, you know, early 2000s. So we
Wow.
did the show 2005. We did it again 2007, 2013. I mean, 2016, and we're going to do it again, and COVID came, and it just shut us down. And I said, you know what? I ain't even gonna let this damn pandemic beat me. So I decided to do a live stream.
And
I
that was
said,
hot. I know that was hot.
we will go in the theater and we'll do our thing. There won't be an audience,
Uh-huh.
and we'll just stream it. And that was amazing because that show that we started in 2003, and here we are in 2020 doing a live stream of it, and there
Wow.
were people watching it in Paris, and people watching it on the West Coast, and people watching it in London, and people
Wow.
watching it in Brooklyn. And I was like, wow.
Wow.
you know and it was all grassroots, local, us. I was still paying for it out of my credit card and my cell phone. That was the office. The cell phone was the office, and the credit card was the executive producer.
But you know what,
So,
Troy? It
mhm,
shows how art defies time. It
yeah,
defies notions.
yeah.
You even songs that you hear now. Like if you hear Michael Jackson, you remember. You know that song. You remember that time when you was in that song. I mean, it's
I'm having a
amazing.
little wine.
Yeah. Oh, listen, that's what we
Okay.
do. I got my white wine. This is water. I mean, this is
Okay.
Sprite. But it's all good. But art defies time and defines
Yeah.
everything. And you look at 2003, it's still relevant in
Yeah.
2020. And you
Yeah.
know what? We're gonna have to run that one more time because I've never seen it. I looked in my house. I have a banner from the Real Nigga Show. Can you believe it?
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know where I got that from.
Well, you know what? I'll send it to you because I do have the recording of the live stream. So
Yeah, I have to see that.
I'll find a way I'll send it to you. That way you can watch it in the comforts of your home and enjoy it.
I'm gonna have a little show because
Because
my friend Ronnie said she want to see it too. So we're gonna
okay,
see
okay.
that.
But when we did the live stream, that's what people were doing. It was it was a great thing in one way, but then another thing, it was a weird thing that hurt me because I'm thinking one person bought one ticket and they got 10 people in their home watching and only one person paid for it.
That's
That's
true.
the business side, the dangers.
That's the business side of it. Yeah. But just think if you didn't have any stream during the pandemic, it would have been zero person.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it
So
was still exposure that you can't pay for.
and then the great thing was that people I started getting text messages and emails, people saying, well, how did you make that happen? Because that was early on in the pandemic. Think about it.
People weren't
We
streaming like that neither.
No,
Yep.
this was August 2020.
Oh
People
man,
were just
it was hot as fire outside.
yeah, but we were still creating art and going in the theater, just us standing in our little bubble and and
I
saying,
love
hey,
it.
we
I
had to
love it.
live. We had to live. And we did. And I'm very proud of that project. But that actually, when we did the live stream, I said, it's time for us to do something for the next generation.
Ooh.
And so the whole thing about mentoring, and I
Hmm.
told the guys in the show, I said, you all need to mentor the next generation. And at that time, we were thinking more of a sequel to the
Hmm.
show. And then as time went on, it turned into not a sequel, but maybe more like a spinoff. Because,
Okay.
you want to leave that alone. A piece like that, you want to leave it just as,
That's the real nigga show. No one, no two. The real
right,
nigga.
this is not going to be Real Nigga Show Part 12. No, that will never
That's
happen.
right.
But
Yeah.
but in the actual show, there was a piece written by, because the show was written by a group of us, different pieces. It was poetry, monologues, short vignettes, and what after everybody, writing, the workshops that I was doing with the guys, I didn't realize they were workshops at that time, but
Mm,
um just coaching them on how to put it together. Then I had Robert Chu over there coaching as well, and we didn't realize that we were really laying a blueprint for something that could happen in the future. So we, with that production of the 2020 live stream, I said, hey, we need to do something else. And that's when I got the idea from one of the characters we had in the opening number. It was a piece called Hoodie, and it was a character and introduced Kevin Alexander Brown, and he was 17 years old.
okay.
And his story was similar to um, Trayvon Martin's.
Mm,
So that kind of gave me a little idea, and I said, who is this kid that's living during these times of Trayvon Martin? What is his life like? Who is
hmm
his family? So when the time came around to say, and arena players approached me because they didn't want to do a real nigga show per se, but they wanted something similar to it.
Okay.
And so I said, okay, we can do that. We can create something, and that's when I got the idea to take that one character from that first piece in the show and spin it off in his whole life. And that's where we are today with the piece You Thought I Was Him. Now the title You Thought I Was Him came actually from one of the actors in the show who actually came into the rehearsal one day and improv the piece, and that line stuck. And then a light bulb went off in my head again, and I said, hey, let's make that the theme of the show, because it's a
Mm.
great, because it was a great line, you know.
Because I'm looking
So
at my notes here. So I see Kevin Alexander Brown, 17. I'm looking
yep.
at my notes you sent me.
Okay, yeah, I sent notes. So
Yeah.
so we created that story, and so I said, you know what? I still want to create a piece about an all African American male cast and
Mm,
their stories, because a lot of times you don't see a full play about African American men. And I will say this: I'm going to go on the record and say, I'm going to look right in the camera and say this: a
look at the
real
camera.
nigga show was before Thoughts of a Colored Man that was on Broadway.
Ooh, because you know they like to take. Hmm.
No, I'm not saying that. I didn't say nobody was
I
took
said
from us.
it.
I'm not saying, anybody could have had the concept, because the concept of an all male cast doing poetry and monologues was actually an idea that I got from Intasaki Shange, who wrote for Color Girls.
Mm,
So I'm not saying that that somebody took from us. However, you
comma,
know it was
period.
the vibes were the same, but nobody stole a show from us or anything like that, because I believe everybody can have the same idea in different places in life.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so, was it as good as the nigga show? The nigga show was raw. It was a
Mm.
raw show. The Thoughts of a Colored Man was polished. you
Ooh,
know it was very polished, and but we were raw. So that's the difference.
that's the difference. Got it.
Oh, I hope I don't get in trouble for saying that.
Listen, you smoothed it over real good. I said take. You said no one stole the show. I didn't say we stole it. I said that most of the times that we have a genius and we see it duplicated, and it is of the same either space or same thought, but it's just duplicated and polished and presented in a different manner and resourced. So
Yeah,
it has more presence, but really it starts in our community. Because we
yeah.
can say that about friends, and so we said about a lot of things that we see that got
Hmm.
resource, but it came,
Hmm.
those it happened before. So we're not saying that, but we are saying that. All right, moving on.
You said it, but anyway. So the idea of this line, You Thought I Was Him. So
Okay.
after using that as a theme, I thought that would be a good segue for another piece. As a director with the ingenuity to recognize a great line, um, I
Okay.
thought that would be a good to develop something new, and that's where we came with the Kevin Alexander. Oh, I'm missing a part here. Center Stage commissioned me to do a piece related to Trayvon Martin in 2014 when they had a Trayvon Martin Moments program. And
Mm,
so we took pieces of a real nigga show and we created a short film called You Thought I Was Him. And we focused more on Kevin Alexander Brown, that character. So that was the beginning of You Thought I Was Him. And it's a short 14-minute film on YouTube. Bashi Rose directed, no, Bashi filmed it, I directed. So
yeah, Bashi. The
oh yeah,
drummer.
I love working with Bashi. Bashi
Yeah,
is
Bashi the drummer.
amazing. He's an amazing filmmaker as
I
well.
hear this.
So, but we were able to work on that, and some of the guys who were actually in the show, and we've hired a young actor to portray Kevin Alexander, and we filmed everywhere. I mean, we were straight up grassroots filming. Film one scene in my house with my last night's dinner on the table. We turned things around, and we made it happen. And so the film premiered as a part of the program, and it
Hmm.
always stuck in my back of my mind to say, "Hey, I should develop this,"
Okay.
you know. And so the time came. The time came when I left the UB Blake Center. I left to do me. You
Mm,
know, I given so many years in the community doing certain things in the community, but I was losing myself by as an artist by not
hmm.
directing. I was directing less and less, and then the directing that I was doing, I was just bringing back revivals of things that I've done, and so I and that bothered me.
Okay.
So there came a time when I said, okay, and I felt as though I took the UB Blake Center to the highest level where I could take it in terms of a community space, me as an individual um, who literally killing himself to, keep an organization afloat.
Okay.
So, so I decided to make that move. But after carefully saying, okay, I created something wonderful. Because sometimes people leave spaces because they made a mess of it. But
Hmm.
I decided I'm going to make a move and move myself to the next level. And it was right after a time where we had the big Red Bull Amifico project here, and we were getting national sponsorship from different companies and to produce concerts, and things were looking good.
Good.
And I said, now it's my time to pack my shit and get the hell out, and let somebody else not being scared to pass the baton to someone else,
Okay.
you know. And so that's why, and I moved on, and so now we're here. There are a lot of other parts to the puzzle that I'll pick up later. But You Thought I Was Him. We need to talk about that.
Yeah, we gotta talk about You Thought I Was Him. And
Hmm.
so it's an all male cast because when I asked Justin Troy, what is You Thought I Was Him? Because I couldn't find any, it's not much about it on the internet.
Hmm.
I kind of look at what you guys are doing a little podcast, which is
Hmm.
amazing. And so
Hmm.
there's some information. And you have your writers, and you're doing your little
Hmm.
your community. What do you call them? Community.
Community conversations.
Yeah, your community conversations. And so
Hmm.
I said, well, what is you said to me is everything you want to see and not want to see in a black man.
Yeah.
So when you said that, that was like, wow, that kind of opened up my whole thought processes. And so now you sent me the notes, and it's all men.
Hmm.
And so, what are you trying to convey? What is your intention? Because you're utilizing the community, which I think is genius, to,
Hmm.
to talk to the community, it be
Hmm.
about the black community,
Hmm.
and then stage it in the longest continuous running African American theater in the country. It's
Yep.
all community. And
It's all
so
community.
all community. I love that.
And well, the reason, well, it's not the sequel, but the spinoff from A Real Nigga Show. Number
Hmm.
one, keeping along in that style. I felt strongly about black men being able to tell their story and
Yes.
tell it their way,
Yes.
and to actually say, hey, look, you see a lot of projects, especially in Baltimore, where a lot of sisters they lead. We have beautiful sisters in Baltimore
That's
who do
true.
a lot of great projects, but a lot of times you don't see men in the art leading in Baltimore City, in my opinion. You
Oh,
know, um, and especially in the world of theater.
yes.
So I wanted to get a group of people together to continue uh, telling our stories, making an impact within the community, and getting people together to kind of like uh, look at the mental health of Black men in Baltimore,
Yes.
because that's something that we're scared to talk about. We're starting to
Hmm.
have some conversations, but when you look at what's going on in our city, you see, we're in a mental health crisis in Baltimore,
That's so true.
and not enough love. Not
Mm.
enough love. All the mentors that I talked about that I had, that's why I can easily say, hey, stand up and I'm going to pour into this community, and I'm going to raise money for this project so that we can have these conversations. And they're true, they're true conversations, true.
Hmm.
There's a lot that's been going on with this project in terms of uh, people looking at themselves and doing self-assessment and some healing and things like that, um, with some of the community conversations, and creating characters that are true, that are true to life. I could have gone in a room myself and sketched out some things and then got one or two people like we did the nigger show and create a wonderful script. That would have been wonderful. But I decided to expand it, to take that same blueprint that I did with a real nigger show and expand it more for community.
Okay, so for
Because
community.
so looking at, and that's why this play have different parts to it. It has programming with it.
Okay.
The community conversations are meant to have true conversations as we develop the characters, as we develop the storyline. So we have to have that before the writers go into a writing room and
Hmm.
actually write a story. We want to make sure that we're doing people justice when we talk about a certain type of person. Like,
So
and I'll
are
let you.
you still formulating the script then?
Oh
Um,
yeah, oh yeah, 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 yeah.
so
Oh,
you're
it's a
not
work.
you're because you're still having conversations. So you're still formulating the actual script that will be presented in November.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I've put together a team. I mean, this team of writers. I mean, they're awesome.
Drop
I
the
mean,
names. Drop them.
drop the names.
Drop them.
Easy Jackson,
Yes, sir.
Derek Watkins.
Okay.
He's a photographer, but he's also a great writer.
Mm.
Tracy Jiggets.
Oh, my magical Negro.
Yep.
Hmm.
Sheila Gaskins.
Okay.
We call her Strawberry. Um,
Strawberry.
Nate Kauser's working with us. He's more of what he's on our administrative side, but sometimes
Okay.
he'll probably get in there and help us write a little bit too. So I mean, it's a wonderful team that we're putting together, and they're in the writers' room. And oh, we just added to the team, Mama Jackie Terry. I mean, she's been a Baltimore poet for years. She doesn't live in Baltimore, but she's going to write some stuff. Because let me explain the writers' room. There are two
Okay.
levels. They're the lead writers, and then they're contributing writers. We haven't invited any contributing writers in yet because the lead writers are just getting organized. And it's easy, in my crazy mind, to put all this together because the play will consist of poetry,
Hmm.
monologues, and short vignettes. And
Can you tell me what a short vignette is? Help us, sister.
it's like a little scene.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like a little. It's like a little scene. Like if say like the characters want to do a flashback of 50 years ago of people in the family, because and you thought I was him. It's 5 generations of one family.
Oh, wow.
We take it back. We trace the family back because, and that's the whole thing of telling our stories. So we trace the family 5 generations back, and then you actually see 3 generations of it in this actual play.
Oh,
So
amazing.
more than likely in the play, there will be a flashback that will go back to, the fourth, the earlier generations of the family, and you'll get a chance to see some of them, and it'll probably be in a sequence of a short scene or a vignette.
Mm. Got it.
So it's the concept of taking the mixtape. It's the concept of telling these guys their story. They're all from Baltimore, so there are a lot of Baltimore references throughout the piece that will be there. Each one of them have the same situation of being racially profiled,
Oh wow.
and I wish I could say it wasn't a common thing, but it's a common thing.
It's a common thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So they all have that involved, you know. And but it's a unique family because it is about family, blood family, and
Mhm.
extended family who live across the street. But
Mm,
it's all told from the male voice.
love that. Love that.
Yeah. So.
And what I will say is it's
Mhm.
very important for you to be present in this time in theater, because where would we get a black male voice?
Yeah.
See, when you don't have representation, then no one can hear your story.
Right.
And so it's very important for you to be there to tell the story, because me as a woman, it's always going to come from a woman's standpoint at some point,
Hmm.
because that's what you are. And black men don't get these type of platforms because a lot of times they aren't present.
Hmm.
And so
And
go ahead.
now all the characters are male.
Yes, I love them.
However, but if you notice, I've said some ladies, some names in there, in the
The
writers.
writers,
So
yeah.
so the thing is, when you sit down and you watch this, you're going to get it from a perspective of you're going to hear this the man's voice,
Uh-huh.
but you know the woman's voice is right there in the piece.
That's
So
how families. If the man
yeah,
is present, you gotta have a woman somewhere in there doing
yeah.
something, organizing in the back room. She doing something. It's important.
And I have my special way of presenting plays where I put my own spin on it of how the stories are told, and have my little trademarks of how I, present it. So,
100%. I am
see,
here for it. I am so
no, that's
excited.
something you're gonna have to buy a ticket for that one right there. I'm not giving that one away. There'll be some special things within the show,
You got to
but
come see it, right?
right, but
So when is
but
it going to be out? Tell the people when it's coming. All of that.
well, the show opens up the 11th of November at Arena Players. We're gonna have a big, grand, um, Broadway style opening.
I'm gonna
And
be.
it's gonna be wonderful. And let me go back and tell you a little bit about how it came to be like that.
Okay.
I applied for some funding because that's one thing that I said that I wasn't going to do is always just put my credit card up and pay for the whole show myself and then rely on box office receipts. There are grants out here, from many foundations and awards that artists can get. And a lot of times in Baltimore, I see a lot of artists of color. We don't go after the funding.
Mm.
So that was something else that I wanted to explore with the team that I'm working with is saying, hey, how do we pay ourselves as artists? We just don't want to have to go broke trying to put up a play.
Mm-hmm.
So I started writing for funding. I got some funding from the Ruby Award from the Deutsch Foundation and the individual artist grant from Baltimore Office of Promotion in the Arts. And actually today I just got word maybe a half hour before we came on that I
Yeah.
got another grant from the Awesome Foundation.
Look
So
at
I'm
you.
really happy. So
You're
hopefully,
awesome. Look at
yeah,
you.
and it's all about doing awesome things in Baltimore. So I'm really happy that that funding came through. Um, but it's not about me getting funding
Mm-hmm.
to do my production. You know, it's about me getting funding to hire artists to do a production.
Mm.
You know,
That's it.
that it's about us we working together and empowering each other, because yes, we do say, Baltimore crabs in the barrel and all that, but that ain't always true.
It's not always true.
And with this project it's not true. The team that I'm working with, I mean, we, when they walk into the first meeting, we talk about the production, they get a deposit. That's
Love
how
it.
I run it with my artists that I'm working with. You get a deposit. It may not be thousands of dollars, but you get a deposit
I love
because
that.
and that lets that that's my way of saying, hey, I respect you, and at the same time, I expect from you. So, we're gonna get in here and we're gonna do what we have to do. and the Baltimore art scene is always changing,
That's true.
you know. But one thing you have to look at the people in the Baltimore art scene who stay consistent at what they do, not the person who's hot for 2 years and
Mm,
then you don't hear much about them, you know.
that's true.
And I have at least 35 years of being involved with this.
You,
So,
you set it up. You got the chops. Listen, I've been so excited to see this because black men are so important in the black
mhm,
community,
mhm,
and to hear you said 5 generations. First of
five
all,
generations.
just the history of that, and the insight that takes, and that
Mhm,
normally people would not see. You're able
right.
to present that, and to do it at the arena players.
Mhm. Got
It's just a beautiful thing to hear in the black community, black actors, black writers. And not that there won't be other people, I'm not saying that, but we need these platforms, we need these
mhm,
spaces,
mhm,
and we also need the opportunity and to be funded. That,
mhm.
even though I like your credit card, we're gonna be friends for a while because your credit card go for you take it and just throw it
Mm-mm,
out
mm-mm,
and they
mm-mm,
buy
mm-mm.
stuff. I love that. We're gonna hang
I,
out, bro. But
I have a credit card you have to pray over before you pull it out. So
so your credit card is fire.
no,
But you
but
know what?
that I've done that in the past, and I've learned from that doing that.
Uh-huh.
The good thing is that always you own your work,
Mm-hmm.
and it's empowering. But at the same time, you grow from that.
Sure.
And so if all this work is being done for community, and that's something you have to know that you have to go out there and get community money. The hardest thing that I had to do recently was to learn how to pay myself.
Wow. You always
you
pay
know
back.
th- because I always always supporting, pouring out and saying, okay, if I get a little $500 grant, at least $475 is going to go to paying everybody.
Well, that's not what Miss Murphy taught you. What did she say? You better
You
have
got to
some
have
what?
some walk around money.
You better
so
know it. You better get
so
that walk around money, bruh.
but I mean, but with this project, it's going to be a project just it's presented in a unique way in terms of in the theater space. If
Mm-hmm.
I can pull off the ideas that I have, like my set and the lighting and all of
Mm-hmm.
that, and hopefully some other things that come through, you walk in the theater, there'll be an art exhibit so
Wow.
when you walk in, the art exhibit will be something that you experience through local artists,
Love
Baltimore
that.
artists. You will meet the characters and get a feel for the characters in the community from seeing the exhibit when you walk into the theater space.
That's amazing. That's
And
forethought
so
right there. That's next
so you
level stuff right
so
there.
you already have a connection with the
Mm-hmm.
piece.
You
You
already been
already
introduced.
those characters will become familiar
Mm-hmm.
when you walk in and you see the exhibit. And so I have some ideas about that and how to do it and connect with some local artists, how we're going to build this exhibit. And but I'm working on getting the funding for it too, because you got to pay for it.
That's true. That's true. So that's what I wanted to is a play like this when you actually form it in your head. You
Hmm.
know what's going to be. You know what you're
Hmm.
trying to actually because you have to move. You're at the point where you're still formulating.
Yeah.
So yeah. So at that point, how do you know the funding? When something like this, what like baseline? What would you need to start? Because I can't ask what the whole show would be. What would you need to start something of this magnitude? In other words,
At least you mean like dollar amount?
dollar amount. Yes.
At least 20 to $25,000
I
at the
hear that.
bottom to
Wow.
start.
That's bottom to
Yeah.
start. And that's not the whole production. That's to start.
Yeah.
Man,
So
that
I have to put on another hat because I wear a director's hat, then I wear a producer's hat, and then I
mhm.
wear a playwright hat, and then as it goes on, I'll work with. Actually, I'm going to try to step back and not be in the technical part. I'm going to hire a technical director who will handle the tech part. But it's hard for me because I've
Mhm.
done it for most of my shows where I do the lights and I do the sound and all that stuff. But I'm growing. At 55 years old, I'm still growing.
Yes. And
So
trusting others. You have to entrust,
and
sometimes when you're the leader, you got to trust others, you know.
I and the team that I got, Nate and Tracy, Those two, they hold me up. They hold me up. And
I
then I
love
got
it.
Sandra Meek.
Troy. Oh no. All right. Troy's frozen. We hope we get him back. Listen, guys, this is an amazing conversation. I hope that the intimacy of this conversation is not too much for you because, see, I don't have no lights on. The only light I have is in front of me. I have a light right over my head. I just didn't want a light over my head tonight. So we're in this intimate space. Troy is still frozen. So I hope he kind of goes out and come back in. But technology is this that sometimes it holds us up. And he just said he's going to hire a technical director. Well, guess what? He might need that right now. So we were talking about You Thought I Was Him. It will be staged first opening November 11th, 2022. This is a new broadcast by Troy Burton. I see he's gone. He should come back. And you guys, listen, we have to support each other. When a lot of times technology is here, there's a lot of stuff on television, Netflix, all of this stuff. But you got to come out for an intimate evening with Black people and Black men. What's up? Troy, you back.
I'm back. I'm back.
Talking to the people. No
I don't know
problem.
what happened. I started talking about money and somebody said, hell, cut his ass off.
That's what it is. I was
Yep.
telling them, that they need to give technology a rest in November
Mhm.
11th, 2022, or
Yeah.
however long this play runs, and come be intimate with Black people and hear a Black man's perspective and be a
Mhm.
part of something that is present to you now.
Yeah. Well, let me say this. This is my plug here.
Go ahead.
Tickets will go on sale June the 11th.
Oh, wow.
And so they'll run at a cheaper price than the normal ticket price from June the 11th to September 11th. So we're going to give people an opportunity to buy these tickets and sell it out. The show will run from the November the 11th to the 22nd.
Oh,
So I mean
wow.
27th. I'm sorry. Let me make sure my dates are right because
So
my
right
own show.
after Thanksgiving or something like that,
Black
27th.
Friday. We better be sold out Black Friday.
Black Friday is the 25th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, the 25th. And we close on the 27th. So
And you're
my
starting on Veterans Day.
right. But
Amazing. Amazing.
but
So listen, guys, 6/11 to the infamous 9/11 to start on 11/11 and it's going to end on 11/27. I need you in the building.
mhm.
I need you in the building. Arena players, that's on Madison. Yeah.
No, McCullough.
McCullough, pardon me. That's on McCullough.
And the arena players, when we say the oldest continuous African American theater in the country,
Hmm.
they're 68 years.
Wow.
68 years of their doors being open. When you walk into that
Amazing.
theater, you're walking into Black history. That's
Mm,
why this show has to be there.
love it.
Yeah. So,
68 years, Troy?
yeah, and the place has never closed. They've never closed, even during the pandemic.
Because
They
they
will
had some
live
problems
stream.
at one time and they held them up. I'm so happy they're
Oh yeah,
still
yeah,
open.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. And a lot of times people, they drive past and they say, "Oh, I didn't know arena players was still open." Take the time to just go in and say, "Hey, what's going on here?"
And when you go down
And
that street, I rode my bike during the night. It's lit up. The foyer is lit up. It's beautiful in there. So you
yeah,
guys, we gotta support our own. It's 801 McCullough Street.
hmm
Remember, 801 McCullough Street. Come out, see this play from the Black man's perspective. You Thought I Was Him, coming from the creative maestro. That's what I call him. Troy
uh-oh,
is the creative maestro of
I received
BMore.
that. I received that.
He's been
You know,
creating for 30 plus. He's the man.
and when you walk away from this play, there will be a need to have conversations because you will see
Ooh.
things and hear about things. You know, that we have a tendency to say what happens in the house should stay in the house within Black families.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about some of those things,
Wow.
but we're going to talk about it in the theater house. And so some people may leave this play having to reconnect with people in their families and say, I didn't understand, but I saw something. I took myself out of the situation and I saw something that made me understand.
I love it. Listen, Troy, we are an hour in. I
Okay.
want you to leave your jewel. Troy's jewel, leave something with the people because we about to step out of here.
Wow.
Wow.
Um, well, you thought I was him. It's a labor of love. My career here in Baltimore has been a labor of love. Um, I've it's something that I really value, and I just feel like that. We living in a time right now where you got to give back. You got to give back. You got to be involved with the community, no matter what you can do. So I don't have any special jewels to offer at this time because I'm putting them all into play right now.
I love it.
But I mean, hey, I'm a producer director, so I can't tell everything.
That's
Um,
right. That's right.
but I want people to listen out for the project. Find ways that you can love on your city. Find ways that you can develop some civic pride for Baltimore City
Yes.
because we're very much lacking. We're talking from City Hall to a lot of other places about what this generation did and what that generation did. No, we got to find ways to have civic pride in this city, or it just won't change. You
Love
know,
that. Love that, Troy. Listen, guys, 6/11 tickets go on sale. They will be sold to 9/11 and continually sold until it opens on 11/11.
and you can get them through Arena Players website.
Arena Players website. That's 801 McCullough Street. It is
Hmm.
the oldest continuously running theater in the country. We have that in Baltimore. We have a treasure.
Black Theater. Hmm.
Black theater, excuse me. Black theater in the
Hmm.
country. That's a treasure. So we need to
Hmm.
support that. Come out
Celebrate it.
and celebrate it. Come out to see an intimate play of Black people with the from a Black male standpoint, which we don't see. That's being platformed in this play. Have amazing writers. The one you said, I don't know all their names, but I know my girl Miss Tracy. She's here and
Oh
she's
yeah.
a writer.
Ooh.
Yeah, Miss Tracy, the magical Negro. Yes, sir.
She got a piece in the show called what is it? America, fuck your melting pot. It's
Ooh,
scorched.
well, you better know it. Listen, that means I'm gonna be there. Listen, and I got to get this last thing on camera. So, Troy, the box needs to come through and take some pictures and move around. The Black Box Radio. So, Black Box Radio's in the house.
Mm-hmm.
That's on
Trying to
camera. That's what I'm talking about. I love that card you
try-
got in your hand, bro.
trying to make sure get the lighting right.
It's looking good. So listen, guys, thank you for coming. This is sexy. What's today? Sexy Wednesdays. We got intimate lighting. I don't have a light over my head. Troy got his candles. We're talking about amazing creativity in the Creating a Vibe series. I appreciate everyone who came through. Ronnie, W Blue, Tracy Jiggett, Shango. Thanks everyone for coming through. Andrea Jane leaving a little love with us. Troy, we appreciate your genius. I cannot
Thank you.
wait for this play. And listen, we boxed up and out. Can I get some deuces?
Deuces.
Absolutely. Good night, guys. Don't go nowhere, Troy. You stay there.
Okay.
Good night, guys.
Thank you, everyone.